That's all for this edition of Dateline. Join us for Dateline Wednesday tomorrow night at 9, 8 Central. Now stay tuned for your local news. I'm Jane Pauley for all of us at NBC News. Good night.
It's a week of all-new Tonight shows as Jay welcomes superstars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Garth Brooks, and lots more. Stay up for Jay. Your local news is next.
The world is now watching America's most watched news magazine, Dateline. NBC News, now more than ever.
You're watching NBC4, the Tri-State News Channel. And now, Chuck Scarborough, Sue Simmons, Janice Huff, and Len Berman. This is News Channel 4 at 11.
Police arrest a suspect in a Brooklyn sniper attack. Could he be the notorious Zodiac killer who terrorized the city? Good evening. A possible break in a 6-year-old murder spree.
We begin with a breaking story tonight. Detectives apparently matched the suspect's fingerprints from today's shootout in East New York to pieces of evidence from the Zodiac shootings. John Miller is here now with the very latest for us. John?
Well, Chuck, it was a lead that came out of far left field. The suspect dropped a hint, just a mark on a piece of paper, and a detective who had been haunted for years by an elusive killer picked up on the hint and set into motion the events that would make an already remarkable caller a grand slam home run. He shot 4 people, killing one of them, and he left letters and mailed them to police saying his shootings would follow the Zodiac signs. He had patterned himself after a San Francisco serial killer. But today, when police confronted Gilberto Seda after he allegedly shot his girlfriend and held her brother hostage, police had no idea that the unfolding drama would begin to close the books on the Zodiac case. Police department negotiators Joe Herbert and Kenny Bowen spent hours talking to Seda, trying to talk him out safely. During that time, they developed a personal relationship with the gunman. They were able to get him to calm down, to gain his confidence. And later, on the way back to the precinct, before he was booked and before he signed a written confession, Joe Herbert began to notice things that made the hair stand up on the back of his neck. He was about to crack the case that had bothered him for years. According to our sources, as Seda was writing out his statement with Sergeant Joe Herbert in the room, at the bottom of the page he placed a small symbol. It looked familiar to Sergeant Herbert. It looked like an adaptation of a Zodiac sign. We believe it was a circle with a cross through it, somewhat like a target. Herbert said he had remembered that from working on the original Zodiac cases, which started not far from the scene where Seda lives and the scene where today's drama unfolded. Seda asked detectives then to take major case prints of the suspect, not just printing the fingertips, but printing the sides of the hands and the palms and the bottoms of the hands, so that those prints could be rushed to headquarters where the major case folder was taken out on the Zodiac case, sent to latent prints where they told Joe Herbert and the other detectives working on the case a short time later that they had a positive match. A print that had been lifted off of one of the Zodiac's notes left at the scene of his last shooting in Central Park in 1990 positively matched up. So there is a match, according to our sources, between that print and the prints taken off the suspect today, which sets into motion probably the final chapters of the Zodiac case.
All right, John. Thank
you, John.
Teenagers under arrest tonight in the stabbing death of a 12-year-old boy in Orange County. Police say the murder victim knew the suspect. In fact, they say the two were friends. It happened in the small community of Maybrook, where people thought they were immune from such violent crime. News Channel 4's Andrew Glassman reports.
After 3 days of investigation, sympathy, and outright fear in the small community of Maybrook, police say the victim and killer lived just a few blocks apart, were members of the same Boy Scout troop, and played together all the time in the neighborhood. The victim is Danny Meyer, 12 years old, who left home Saturday morning and took a well-known shortcut to a Little League game with baseball on his mind. Police have now charged 19-year-old Juan Miguel Pinedo of Aristotle Drive with second-degree murder for the stabbing. Pinedo is known as a foster child who moved here a year ago from Guatemala. Described as short and baby-faced, he blended in well with much younger kids, but stood out when it came to rough behavior and language.
Yeah. He used to get rambunctious sometimes, too. Like, you know, he didn't know much English, but the English he did wasn't proper.
I was hoping it would be someone from the outside because I think it'll create problems in the development here. it's gonna split the neighborhood up.
Part of the credit for solving this crime goes to 2 local newspaper reporters who were following up the story in the woods near the murder scene. According to the state police, they found Pinedo hanging from a tree with a rope around his neck. He reportedly told the reporters that he'd been beaten and sexually assaulted. The reporters turned Pinedo and his story over to the police.
Initially, we took his story very seriously, but through further interviews during the course of the day, we determined that not only wasn't he a victim, but he was the perpetrator of the murder of Danny Meyer.
A police source tells News Channel 4 a knife has been recovered from the suspect. It will be tested now to determine if it's the murder weapon. A weapon maybe, but police have no motive yet. The scouting troop is also at a loss to explain it. They met in private in town tonight to mourn the loss and the revelation that one of their friends is now accused of killing another. In Maybrook, Andrew Glassman, News Channel 4.
Pinedo was arraigned on the murder charge tonight in Maybrook, and he's now in jail. A court-appointed attorney entered a plea of not guilty.
Her heartbreaking story touched the nation. Tonight, a jury found the confessed killer of 12-year-old Polly Klaas guilty of murder.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Richard Allen Davis, guilty of a felony, to wit, a violation of Penal Code Section 187A, murder.
As Richard Allen Davis was convicted on one count after another, the Klaas family reacted with quiet emotion. Polly Klaas was kidnapped from her home in Petaluma, California during a slumber party nearly 3 years ago. Davis later admitted to police that he strangled the girl. Prosecutors portrayed Davis as a sexual predator, and the verdicts do make Davis eligible for the death penalty.
Tragedy in Bergen County tonight. A mother out on a drive with her 2 children was killed when a stolen car slammed into the rear of her car. 39-year-old Stephanie Carroll died in Oradell. Her children, 9-year-old Danielle and 11-year-old Brian, were taken to the Hackensack Medical Center. They are in good condition. The driver of the stolen car jumped out and tried to run away, but police grabbed him. He has not been identified.
At least 6 paratroopers were killed when 2 military helicopters collided in midair. It happened as the soldiers were rappelling down ropes to the ground during an air assault demonstration. Horrified civilians witnessed the disaster at Fort Campbell Army Base in Kentucky.
Well, this was a routine training that the unit was conducting, and we do bring civilians out from time to time to see what the soldiers do and see the training that's conducted. So it was routine training. The civilians just happened to be out and to watch it.
16 people were injured, including 2 civilians who were struck by flying debris from the helicopters that collided.
Also in Suffolk County tonight, the police hate squad is investigating swastikas and racial slurs painted on a school. This is the West Middle Island Elementary School. The Nazi symbol, the letters KKK, and worse were scrawled on all sides of the building, plus on the bulletin board at the entrance and on trash cans. Teachers told children that the scrawls were a cowardly act. New York City police have churches under added